You're watching this special News Central broadcast commemorating 20 years of the African Union. If you joined us from the beginning at 9 a.m. West African time, we say a very big thank you. And if you're just joining us now, welcome to the conversations. Don't forget to follow us on social media at News Central TV. And of course, watch us live on numerous platforms and share your thoughts on the African Union, its past, its present, and its future. My name is Solulokwe Adeleru Balogun.
And my name is Joe Hansen. Thank you once again for staying with us. Now we will be going into the second half of this commemoration of the African Union at 20. And our guest is in. We'll be talking with founder Surprise Tropical, Benedict Mundele Kuvuna. She joins us here this very beautiful morning. Good morning to you. Bonjour, Benedict.
Good morning. Bonjour.
It's me, I'll say a Caro. Thank you very much. So that's a greeting from us here in Yoruba side of Nigeria. But Benedict, thank you so much for joining us and welcome. So looking at the AU, I know that there is this summit coming up in February where African heads of states and governments will sit down and they're supposed to review the activities of the African Union and look at the things that the Union can do better. But we know in most regards, we're going to end up hearing several pats on the back that the leaders will give themselves for doing things that many Africans are not even sure they're doing. So coming off of the conversation we had the hour before you, are Africans really on their own when it comes to the African Union's activities? The Union has 14 objectives. Many Africans don't even know what the African Union is doing. So are Africans really on their own?
I think there is a gap between the communications and the people who are the young Africans. And then I think because before people to own it, they need to know about it. There is this gap of communication that we need to have to find a solution so that we can be aware about those objectives, so people can own those objectives and start working about those objectives.
I think I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Benedict. Tell me, what do you know of the African Union? What do you know of their activities? What do you know of their attempts to better the continent? Because when we started this conversation, we did make mention of the fact that many Africans probably know more about the activities of the United Nations, of even NATO, than they do of the African Union. Do you think that's a right assumption?
Yeah, this is very true. Because around me, there is a lot of young people. They are many aware about any other organization, but they are not very aware about African Union. And this is the communication side. Like on my side, the things I know about African Union, it's where people where we found solution about everything regarding African nations, where all nations come together and find solution for things that are happening around Africa. And then those resolutions, they need to have more platform where we can be aware about it, and then we can start to own those objectives and start everyone in his side how to have to find solution, how to build on that, how to find a way to work on it.
Very interesting. Now let's also look at this, Benedict, looking at the aspect of young Africans who are indeed interested in seeing the growth of Africa, and not forgetting to the aspirations that the AU has indeed mentioned that they want to achieve. So many of them that we've reeled out in the first hour. But let's look at the fact that as a young African as well, and looking at the African Union, do you think the African Union is doing enough for young Africans?
I think the good things about African Union for young Africans, because first of all, it helps us to connect with other nations. Because there is a lot of goals a lot of objectives that we share between many nations. And then for young Africans, they make them feel proud to be an African. And then it helps to connect between other nations. And then for young people, for them to be more involved on that, as I was saying, we need to create collaboration between different nations. I just give an example of Youth Connect. When you are in Youth Connect, you can connect with other nations, you can be in contact with all other nations. And those activities that African Union organize with young people, it make young people to feel more proud to be Africans. It make them connect with other nations as well. And then this collaboration can create many collaboration between nations, many projects that we can build. Like on my side, I work with many people around Africa. I have friends in South Africa. I don't know any country where I go I don't have connection because of those platforms where we connect, where we can celebrate our journey, we can talk about our projects, our objective. And I think this is the way to go for African Union because they can put together those young people and then together they can collaborate and work uh, on many objectives.
All right, so let's bring Dr. David Musanga back into the conversation, African Affairs Analyst, so graciously agreed to join us for this second part of the conversation. Dr. David, you've heard what Benedict has said, and I want to take us back to, excuse me, the vision of Agenda 2063 and highlight some specific aspirations that actually talk to this idea of young people. So one of the aspirations, let's see, it's aspiration number 4, and it says a peaceful and secure Africa. By 2063, Africa will emerge as a peaceful and secure continent, a conflict-free continent. We've seen the coups, we've seen the insecurity, and we've seen young Africans actually taking part. We also have aspiration number 5, an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, values, and ethics. We are still seeing xenophobic attacks and encounters across the continent involving young people. Aspiration 6, an Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. And let me finally highlight this one, aspiration 3, an Africa of good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice, and the rule of law. Again, back to the coups, back to the insecurity, back to the youngest continent in the world, and also the continent that has some of the oldest leaders in the world. When you see this Vision 2063 and how it can speak to an aspirational Africa that is embracing its youth, but then we see the reality on the ground, where are we missing our steps, especially as it comes to the African Union and bringing Africa's young people to the table?
Thank you very much again. I think we have let down the youth. Let's accept, let's agree that African Union and we leaders of this continent, we have let down the youth. Our younger generation, like Benedict Kuvuna from DRC Congo and others, on the number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, that is human rights, conflict-free zone, culture, and then people-driven. I think, as I've said in the first place, in the first part of this show, they are on paper, but they are not in practical terms. Show me why Malema, why people in South Africa hate Nigerians. Why do they ban black people? Black to black. Xenophobia. Why the South African government troops are watching, police is watching. A Nigerian is put on fire. The Somali is put on fire. The Mozambican, the Kenyan, the only people they don't touch in South Africa are Ugandans, my country, because for us, they claim we are very good people with them. We gave them a liberation front. The rest, they hate everybody. They hate Nigerians. They hate Cameroonians. So agenda number 5 of culture for 63, it has failed. Agenda number 3 of human rights, it has failed. So many countries in Africa, look at what they did in Tigray. Ethiopian troops and Eritrean troops went and killed people. They killed people in Tigray. Human Rights Watch and other organizations and the other African human rights groups, They have condemned the killings that took place in Ethiopia, for example. Look at that. The youth have been betrayed. We have betrayed our youth. We have not put in enough energy. When the younger lady talked about that when he goes to South Africa, he connects, or when you connect, you are connecting on internet, on Twitter, but you are not connecting in blood. Because South Africans, when they realize you are from Congo, Congolese, they will chase you out of your building the following morning. So Africa has not integrated, has not come back to the terms of where we shall have no xenophobia, where we shall have no killings of other Africans. We have not yet come to that level. Number 4-point conflict-free zone. I think it is on paper. In summary, my sister, these things are on paper. We have let down the younger generation, the younger lady who is from Democratic Republic of Congo. In Congo itself, before there are people in Congo from one side of Congo who don't know any other part of Congo. I believe she's from Kinshasa, the capital city. But there are people in Goma who have never gone to DRC Congo because there is no infrastructure. The AU plays lip service, yet Congo could serve AU. Congo could serve the entire Africa. If we harnessed, we put our resources into Democratic Republic of Congo, built up roads, build up infrastructure, schools, dispensaries. The whole Congo, one Congo would serve the entire Africa. But we have not. Instead, we have created Congo as a battlefield of rebel groups. You see, we are talking about security in this section and the youth. Most of the youths have been recruited into rebel groups. Congo alone, Democratic Republic of Congo, has got 146 rebel groups mining, exporting diamonds, gold for Western countries. That's why the war cannot end. The war cannot end in Congo because each country in Europe has got its rebel force, supplying them arms, giving them money, logistics to buy guns. So we have a problem on the African continent. Agenda 63 was a mirage.
All right, let me go straight to Benedict, since we have her here, and being there in Kinshasa, of course, I think it's very important that we hear from the horse's mouth. First of all, how the Congolese, say the indigents, feel knowing that the president is also a member of the AU at some point, and yet the trickling effects of what the AU stands for was not seen, especially in that particular country, your country. So are there petitions that have been made? Obviously, yes, they have. But the question is, how are the youths taking it that they did have a representative who happened to be a president of your country, and yet there still were so many problems?
Before I answer this question, I want to come back what the professor say. I think there is one thing that is very important so we can reduce the insecurity is creating those infrastructure that someone can live like, I'll give this example from Kinshasa, from DRC. When I am in Kinshasa, there are many people who are in Kinshasa, they've never been in East Africa. There are many people who are in East Africa, they've never been here in Kinshasa. So it's like you are a daughter and then you have many aunties. Because for you, you have been in many aunties' house, you become creating those relationships with those auntie and brothers and sisters because you had an opportunity to meet with them, spend time with them. I think it's the same time with Africa. Because we are able to go in many countries, we are starting to develop that love with those different countries. And then this infrastructure that someone can leave Kinshasa and go to Angola or leave Angola to go to Namibia, it creates that love because you can know this, you can understand different culture, you can understand different country, and then you start loving those people. And then I think this is a way also to reduce insecurity. And I really agree this infrastructure types that can resolve the insecurity part. And regarding the petition, there are many petitions that young people create. Here in DRC, there are many structures that are connected with AU. There are many young people who have those organizations that they work directly with the AU and they create those petitions. There is even one they call La Table Ronde, the round table, where when you have a petition, you can go and then you can create, you can give your petition and then they help to bring to the president. And it's a way to go. I know there is a lack of communication that's still a huge problem, but the way to go that they create a platform where young people can give their petition, they give the challenge, and then this is a way to go.
All right, Dr. David, I want us to get back to this security conversation because it affects so many young Africans. There are a number of conflicts across the continent now that have displaced people from their homes. And of course, we know that the issue of climate change with the desertification happening from the Sahara into the Sahel is also causing conflicts. We have pastoralist and herder conflicts across the continent. But earlier on, you said that the AU has done very little to create a climate of peace and security, but rather the AU has created a climate of war and conflict. Why would you have the AU bear so much responsibility, possibly, for some of the insecurity and the conflicts that we're seeing across the continent?
Because of double standards. They have double standards. I gave you an example, very good example. And before I jump to that, my sister Benedict knows, Kavuna knows that there are people in Congo who still think Mobutu is the president. I am telling you in the name of God. They think President Mobutu is still the president. Yet Congo has voted 4 presidents in the middle. Kabila number 2, Tshisekedi. Now they think Mobutu is still the president. And these are the Congolese near my border, up this way, in the forest. There are people in Congo who have never voted. They didn't vote. They don't know who is there. Because when the voting started, they said there is Ebola. African leaders have tactics of winning elections. They said there is Ebola in that area, so there is no voting. 2 million people in the DRC Congo. You see, before I leave this issue of Congo, Congo has more money than France. But Congo was begging $2.8 billion to run an election. So if you fail in an election, France will come and say, give us our money. We give you money. That's why we want you to elect so and so. Coming to the question of security and the younger people, let me tell you, my hosts, that the bulk of the armies that we have today are the youth. The militias, the recruitment, the radicalization, like in Boko Haram in Nigeria, for example, the northern parts of Nigeria, Maiduguri areas, those areas of Maiduguri, I can draw you the map of Nigeria even when I'm here. I know it. I know every map of African country because you cannot be a teacher and you fail to do that, to know those things. The whole part of northern Nigeria, it is almost lawless. There's a lot of insecurity, most of the Sahara region. But who are the people entering the army? The youth who are recruited in the Boko Haram, in Al-Shabaab, in all these organizations, in Maghreb, in Al-Qaeda Maghreb, in ISIS, in Mozambique. Look at the whole continent. In Congo itself, where Madame Benedict, the younger sister of mine, it has rebels. Some of them originate from Uganda. They are there. They are there. And the African Union has been singing, writing documents. We want you to lay down your arms. They have not put there any mechanisms of reducing the rebel groups. They have encouraged. if you are going to write on the papers to a rebel group which has got arms, which has got money, let me ask you, has the African Union, my sister and brother in the studio, and my fellow panelists, has African Union protested to Saudi Arabia why Al-Shabaab wears the same uniform that Saudi Arabian army wears? I leave a question to you. Ask your panel later on. Al-Shabaab wears that uniform you see is the uniform of Saudi Arabia army. Where do they get it? Can't the African Union summon? But I see the African Union chairperson being called every day. He's being called every day into Saudi Arabia to have dinner. But he has never asked where these uniforms come from that come to kill us. They come to kill people in Kenya and Uganda and the whole Africa. Boko Haram is having uniforms. If you look at the uniforms of Boko Haram, and new guns and the new uniforms, where do they get these new uniforms? Somebody is supplying them. But has the African Union come to our rescue? Look at the conflict in the dam. There is this dam conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt. The African Union has failed even to sit down and negotiate terms for Ethiopia not to fill the water so that Egypt does not starve. They can't solve one problem. This is not an organization. Younger people, I'm sorry, we have let you down. We have let you down because of one man who has actually turned a blind eye, who doesn't want to be given advice. The heads of state, I don't know those who are going to go there on the 5th, but you will soon see my letter advising the heads of state not to go to Addis Ababa because they risk quite a lot of things. The rebels are in and nearby. They could be in the building and the rebels strike. Yes, and that is I am telling you as a security expert also. The rebels will come and strike. We don't want our presidents to be in chaos in Ethiopia. So they rather stay on Zoom and do on stream to Addis Ababa, not to go into Addis Ababa, because there is no AU. It has not helped us. It has taken the money. Can you be shocked? Can I shock you again? The soldiers in AMISOM have not been paid for 10 months. Have you heard that? AMISOM soldiers. Now you are talking of security. AMISOM soldier, a soldier who has not been paid is more dangerous than the one who is dead.
Dr. David, you bring up the AMISOM, you bring up security as well. I think it's an opportune time for us to look at the Silencing the Guns initiative that the African Union had brought up, and it was supposed to be silencing the guns by 2020, particularly looking at finding ways to direct or divert the angst and the energy of young Africans so that they did not end up becoming part of these terrorist organizations like you've listed out. But some have said that the guns have actually become louder, especially in the year and the years after Silencing the Guns came out. So have there been any initiatives you would consider successful by the African Union that have even had a moderate level of success? Is it Silencing the Guns? Give us your thoughts on that.
There is nothing, no gun has a side. Where? Show me. More guns are coming out. I'm telling you, by the end of this year, there will be about 6 schools in that Sahel region. I've seen. I'm a member of the International Institute of Strategic Study, a life member, and a life member of Chatham House. We see the intelligence comes, we know which country is heading towards a military situation. We see it, we get the reports. But I'm telling you, African Union, apart from the Security Committee that is headed by Kenya now, Kenya has tried. For example, President Uhuru Kenyatta here has tried to solve a problem between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar of South Sudan. He has now silenced, we are nearing, and I want to thank President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta for being silent diplomats, following some of the strategies that people elsewhere have used. the guns in Ethiopia between Tigray and the Ethiopian government are going to come down. The signing of these agreements are soon coming. At least that one, we have a way forward. That is okay. But the rest of these other parts, African Union has no clue. Look at the war in Mozambique. It had no clue. There is radicalization of the youth. Where is the program of the youth from African Union? You have a youth and a women department taking over $50 million per year. $50 million. But if you ask anybody in some of these African countries whether AU has ever visited their country, a delegation coming from AU saying they want to know the problems of the youth, they haven't. They haven't. So African Union has created more chaos, more confusion than creating avenues of resolving conflicts on this continent. We can't resolve even our village meeting conference. We can't. We have failed, and let the African Union chairperson admit he has failed. If he was a honorable man, he would resign and allow a reformation, a rebranding, a revamping of this organization to a workable solution, a workable way direction. Otherwise, my sisters and brother, there is no solution. We are having more wars as we speak now. Yesterday, Rwanda and Uganda only opened the border after 2 years. After 2 years, how much business have we lost in Kenya? How much business have we lost in Uganda? How much business have we lost in Rwanda? After 2 years, the border was closed, and African Union could not negotiate anything between Rwanda and the Uganda. Surely you call it African Union? Is that African Union? No, that is African disunity. There is no African Union. For me, it is just a label, AU, with a green flag. But the real things are on paper. There is no practical thing happening in African Union. Okay. If you are waiting for it to help you, you better help yourself first.
All right, you've spoken a lot. Talk about Dr. David. Let's go to Benedict. Benedict, let's look at the recent coup that has taken place as well. We've seen that take place in Mali, Guinea, and just recently we also saw that in Burkina Faso. Being widely read, and also looking at the fact that you have also been able to travel around Africa, how would you say the recent coup that's happening under the nose of the African Union is rightly affecting youths in Africa?
I think I'm coming back again about what doctors say. I think there are many conflicts that we have in Africa. It comes from many generations. So I know we are talking about many conflicts, but many conflicts, it doesn't come from this generation. It comes from many generations story. Before we start to solve those problems, we need to understand the story behind those problems, because now we are trying to fight the problems, but we are not trying to fight the problems behind. Because there is one fact that I give an example, DRC and Rwanda. We have been in many conflicts since generation to generation. And those presidents, when they will go in African Union, they pretend to be in the same level, but in their country and in those presidents, there are many stories behind, there are many problems behind that will go generation to generation. So before we start to resolve those problems, we need to understand the story behind and then discuss about the story behind, instead of faking the collaboration between many countries that it even not exists. And in the other country, like we see in many, when I travel in many countries, I see there are young people that are trying to organize the peace activities, trying to find solutions to the peace event. but still there is story behind that we need to solve before we start solving the problems. So we need to touch the main problems before we start saying to young people, you need to stop guns, you need to do this, you need to do this. This is okay, but the story starts behind, it's very heavy, and then it goes generation to generation. And this is starting to become hard to resolve those problems.
So, Benedict, I want to stay with you. As a young African in 2022, is the AU relevant to you? Is it relevant to the stability of your country, the economic progress of the region, possibly calling your president to order for human rights violations, as we've seen across the continent in many ways? Is the African Union relevant to young Africans such as yourself? Does it still have a future here on the continent with young Africans?
On my side, I see there is many theory. Like we read many papers, there are many resolutions that is taking place, but in action, actually, I can't see the action points. For me, we need to go more in action than in many decisions and the theory that we are taking. In 2022, what I want to see more in African Union, it's more action than theory, because most of people that I know who work in, who have organizations that collaborate with African Union, they come together and they talk about resolution, they talk about theories, but we need more action. So those actions, like when we talk about peace, we can see that the peace is coming together. When we talk about supporting young entrepreneur, we can see how the young entrepreneur are growing their business. So we cannot just talk about theory instead of not having practice. So for me, since I'm here, for me, I can just see those theory that they're putting together, those paper that they are writing, but I need more action. The action that we can see, the action that young people can see, okay, African Union, it's more relevant now for us.
All right, Dr. David, thank you so much, Benedict, for those points. Let's look at an aspect here. Let's look at autocracy. But don't you think this is also giving the AU a problem in ensuring that Africa's problems are indeed tackled headlong?
Yes, leaders in Africa, I believe you talked about autocracy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh my God, that is one of the few things. You notice that every leader in Africa now wants to change the constitution. if where you are, if my good friend Major General Buhari or General Buhari had more years, he would change the constitution to remain there. In most of the African countries, the constitutions have been changed. What is creating the coups now? Conde. You saw Mr. Conde being overthrown by his own aide-de-camp. He changed the constitution. Ouattara changed his age. You know, some people are even changing age in Africa. This is the Africa we have, I'm telling you. People are changing age. Ouattara said he's about to reach 75, where he said the constitution of Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, I don't know about Cote d'Ivoire, because I don't like French. Look, Ivory Coast, he changes the constitution, term limit, and age limit. Do you not see that every president in Africa is trying to go closer to removing those things? Why? Why? And that is the main cause. That is what African Union should tackle now. Why are African presidents changing constitutions which result into military coups? Look at all the elections where coups have taken place. Burkina Faso, Ouattara, that gentleman there. No, I think that is not Ouattara, that is Idriss. Is it Idriss or Ouattara? No, that's
Ouattara.
Ouattara, yes.
Yeah.
That is Mr. Ouattara. Ouattara was very helpful when I was in Abidjan. Now look, he's changing the constitution to remain there under those conditions. Look at the gentleman in Cameroon, Paul Biya, 42 years in power. And the insecurity is there. In fact, for me, AFCOM, I am very embarrassed as an African. And when AFCOM starts, I switch off.
Why? Why is that?
Because I hate, one, they are playing near Yaoundé and the other capital, when rebels are just very near each other. There, Amazonians are dying. For years, we have been telling Mr. Paul Biya, he doesn't even live in Cameroon. He just came from abroad to open the market of our football. I cannot attend such. I want the younger generation, like this lady here, to learn from some of us. I'm not an NGO for anybody to pay me, but I'm an activist, international activist. I've read the books, but I'm an activist. You don't touch anything which is anti-African, and I leave you. I will work against you. So if you look at all this, African Union should first tame the autocracy of some of the presidents. And say, if you are changing your constitution to stay in power, don't come to AU.
Okay.
Yes, we checked out Morocco. Morocco stayed 40 years, about 30 years without coming. Were we dying? Were we dying? No, we should have the teeth to bite. So many African heads of state are changing the constitution today in order to stay in power. What caused the war in Ethiopia? The man came and changed, sacked all Tigray people from high position, threw them out. What do you expect? A conflict. What has happened in DRC Congo? Today in Congo, there are people who are living on borrowed time because they don't know whether Tshisekedi is going to be stable. Tshisekedi has invited in Uganda and other countries to help him. So some of these countries in Africa, to stop insecurity, you need to rearrange them. Have you heard my word?
We've heard you, Dr. David. Thank you so very much.
There are some countries in Africa that need rearrangement. We better start rearranging them so that we take infrastructure there. We Ugandans, we come for you. We come for you if you touch us again. Kivuna knows we have gone in Congo, we are now there. In fact, we have dismantled the rebel groups. We are beating them, we are killing them there. We have no mercy. We are not going to wait. No, wait for us. My sister, I know you are going to say.
I need to give Benedict to share her final thoughts because of time.
That is our motto. Our motto, you touch our people, we come for you. We are Israel of Africa.
All right, Dr. David, let's leave it at that. Benedict, I'd like you to share your final thoughts. The AU is present. It's, of course, coming out of the OAU, the Organization of African Unity, but obviously is not living up to many people's ideals of what the African Union should be. You've heard from Dr. David. He's predicting at least 6 more coups on the continent this year. We're seeing a massive, massive immigration of young Africans running from their countries. We're seeing poverty, unemployment, and at the end of the day, young Africans are starting to turn on their governments and they're dissatisfied. Where do you see the AU being able to step in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years? And let's do this in 1 minute if you can, Benedict.
Beginning, the first part is like create the communication between the decision and the young people. I know there is many platforms where you can find information, but I think we need to solve the gap between African Union and young people. So this gap of information, we really need to solve that so young people can be aware about what's happening, and then they can give their ideas, they can give what they think, they can propose things. And also for the peace part, we need to create peace between those countries. But this peace will not stay something in theory or things that is written. We need to go in the practice. In the practice part, there is this infrastructure that young Congolese can easily go to South Africa, can easily go to another country. This way of change, going to many countries, creates that affection on those countries, that love on those countries, that these young people, they will be more Africans than just trying to find solution for their country, but they will be more close with those other countries. For me, on my side, I can conclude that we need to solve the gap between what's happening in the African Union to young people, so young people can have a platform where they can not just give their ideas, but they can be involved about what are the resolution is taken, and then they can like own it, and then starting to build on that resolutions.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much, Benedict, for being here with us for this second hour as we've taken a look at the commemoration of the African Union at 20. Thank you, and thank you for being here. We also want to say thank you to Dr. David. You've spoken tough once again as we've looked at
my sister, thank you. God bless
Thank
you.
you.
There is no African Union. It is dead. It is rented to the French. There is no African Union.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. David.
Thank you, Dr. David. Well, it's been a fantastic one here. News Central special broadcast, taking a look at the African Union at 20. The ups and downs, the highs and lows, not forgetting to Tolu. We've taken a look at some of the challenges, and it's got to do from the regional blocs,
Yes.
over to autocracy, over to political instability, infrastructural deficit, name it, and the likes.
And it has been 20 years that the Durban Summit established the African Union, and nearly about 70 years since the establishment of the Organization for African Unity. Now, in that time, Africa has witnessed growth. We've moved people out of poverty. We've also seen technological advancements, but not to the level that we all want. And as we look at 20 years of the African Union, the question of the present and the future remains. How much relevance does the African Union have for the youngest continent in the world? How much relevance does it have if its leaders are not ready to be held accountable? It's not a conversation that's going to stop. We know that in February, the heads of states and governments will be meeting. And of course, we're going to hear a lot more in regards to that. So that is where we'll be wrapping things up today. 20 years of the African Union. You can reach out to us on social media at News Central TV. Let us know your thoughts, what you think of the AU. Does it still have a place on the continent and in the hearts of Africans?
Thank you so much for watching, and our programming continues. I'm Joe Hanson.
I'm Tolulakwe Adela Rubalogun. Do stay with News Central, where we put Africa first.